everyone. In this video, we're going to discuss about other modes of pollination in flowering plants. Other modes of pollination means when the process of pollination is performed by other agents like birds, bats, snails, etc. Okay. So the first one is ornithophily. Ornithophily is actually a process of pollination when the pollinating agents are birds. Okay. That means in flowering plants, pollen grains from anther of one flower are transferred to stigma of another flower with the help of birds. Okay. Now, in order to attract these birds towards themselves, the flowers of such plants, they have certain adaptations. One of the most common adaptation is all these flowers, they are brightly colored, large and showy. Okay. So all these flowers are bright in color. Okay. They are large in size, plus they are showy, so that these birds can easily identify these flowers even from the long distance and move towards them. Okay. The next adaptation is even if these flowers are bright in color, large and showy, the birds, they move towards this flower because these flowers in return provide some reward to the birds. Okay. The most common reward is food in form of nectar, okay, watery nectar and edible pollen grains. So all these flowers which are pollinated by birds, they produce a plentiful of watery nectar. So these birds, they generally move towards this flower in search of food, okay, in order to get or in order to drink nectar from these flowers. Another adaptation is these flowers, they are tubular and funnel shaped, okay. That means they have corolla. Corolla means the wall of petals, okay, the wall of petal in the in these flowers. So together this wall of petal is known as corolla. So the tubular and funnel shaped corolla is present. Okay, this is tubular or funnel shaped corolla. Now for example, in center here, you have stigma, style and ovary, pistil is present. Okay, and then you have the stamen. Okay. Now at the bottom of these stamens, nectaries are present. Okay, inside these nectaries, nectar is produced. So these birds, they should actually go deep inside the flower and then suck nectar from the nectaries. Okay, so in order to provide space to the bird to suck nectar, these flowers are tubular and funnel shaped. Next, they produce sticky and spiny pollen grains. Okay, these pollen grains are spiny, like they have small spine like structures and they are sticky in nature. Okay, because of these two characteristics, sticky and spiny, when birds enter inside the flower, the pollen grains of such flower, they are able to stick to the body of the birds, generally to the feathers. Okay, they are able to stick to the feathers or a hair present on the body of the bird. Okay, so this was all about ornithophily. Next one is known as Chiropterophily. Okay, Chiropterophily is actually the process of pollination in flowering plants where the agents are bats. Okay, so these flowers also are large, stout enough so that bats can hold on to it. Okay, you can look here on this flower. Okay, it is clearly visible that the flower is very large in size, plus the flower is protruding outside. Okay, I mean it is protruding up in the air. It is stout enough so that bats, if bats try to sit on the flower or try to hang itself on the flower, okay, so it can easily do that. Okay, it can easily hold on to the flower. The next one is all these flowers, they have large number of stamens to produce considerably large amount of edible pollen grains. So one of the most common adaptation of these flowers which are pollinated by bats is they produce edible pollen grains. Okay, so these bats, they actually move towards the flower, not exactly not exactly for the process of pollination, but they know that they're going to get some reward in return. Okay, and the reward is food in terms of edible pollen grain. So these flowers, they have large number of stamens so that they can produce large number of pollen grains, because most of the pollen grains are consumed as a food by these bats. Okay, and only some pollen grains are actually transported from male flower to the female flower. And then another adaptation is they generate plentiful of watery nectar. Okay, nectar is actually a sweet liquid which is rich in sugar, fructose. Then these flowers, they also smell like rotten or fermenting fruit. Okay, so the smell of rotten or fermenting fruit is actually very pleasant for these bats. So they move towards these flower because of this smell also, because the smell attracts the bat. The example is Ornithophily, okay, and Kigelia pinnata. Okay, so this flower is known as Kigelia pinnata, and this one is the Ornithophily flower. The next type of pollinating agents are squirrels, or you can say, like, any animal. Okay, so when this pollination process knowingly or unknowingly is performed by animals, it is called zoophily. So zoophily is the process of pollination with the help of animals like monkeys, humans, squirrels, grazing animals, etc. Okay, and the adaptations are, obviously, in order to attract these animals, these flowers are bright in colored. Okay, they produce a scent, and then they produce edible pollen grains. Okay, and sometimes the complete flower or the fruit. Okay, that means sometimes only the pollen grains are edible, and sometimes the complete flower or the fruits. Okay, when the flower changes into fruit. Okay, even the fruits are edible. Okay, so in order to get reward in form of food, in the form of edible pollen grains, flower, fruit, or nectar, these animals, they move towards the flower. Another very special type of pollinating agent is snail. Okay. Now this process in which snails perform the process of pollination is known as Malacophily. Okay. So Malacophily is actually the process of pollination with the help of snails. And one of the example is Erythema plant. Okay. So this one is the Erythema plant. This snail moves on the flower of this plant because of the bright color, the scent, or the nectar which they produce. Okay, and because of this, the snail helps in process of pollination. Okay, so when snails help in process of pollination, this is known as Malacophily. The next type of process of pollination is known as Ophiophily. Okay, Ophiophily is actually the process of pollination when pollination process is done by snakes. Okay, when pollination is done with the help of snakes. Okay, and one of the most common example of such type of pollination is Santalum plants. Santalum plant commonly is known as sandalwood. Okay, in Hindi it is known as chandan. Okay, so this chandan, the stems or the branches of this santalum plant produces a very good fragrance, and even these santalum, the stem of the santalum tree. Okay, the stem of the santalum tree is very good. I mean, it produces a good fragrance, and plus it's also very good for for maintaining the healthy skin. Okay, in human beings. Okay, so snakes generally, they rely on these santalum plants. They live on these santalum plants, and these snakes, they help in the process of pollination in santalum plants. You can look here on the right side. There is a cluster of flower present. Okay, so these are the flowers. Okay, and this one is a snake which actually helps in the process of pollination in santalum plant. Okay, such snakes which actually lives on the tree are known as Dryophus. Okay, they are known as Dryophus. Okay, so these are the flowers which are pollinated with the help of snakes. So this was all about the process of pollination and different pollinating agents. From next video onwards, we'll discuss about the process of fertilization in flowering plants.